dengan ZAINI. Michael and I will present about our website, which is Sport Equipment Inventory Management System. For our website, the user can divide by two, which is staff and student can log in this website. For the new user, you must to register first to log in this website. You must to press this button, register, and you must to fill out all the information in this form. First, to put your ID star, and your name, your age, your gender, which is female or male, your number phone, your password, and confirm password. The password must to be same in this way. And you must to you just to press the button register, and all the information will be stored in this database, and the pop-up will appear at this while user register completed, and press the button OK. You just press the button right in here, and you must to fill the information that you register. And the password. And now you press the button login. This is our staff homepage, and here have a home, equipment, approved member, and contact button. For homepage, this is Sport Equipment Inventory, our website title. Have a rule at here and the pictures. For the rules, first, the staff must insert equipment code correctly, and second, staff need to give approval of borrowing form before student take the equipment. This is a few pictures here, and approve members. For the equipment button, the staff can view the list or the list of the equipment that available in this system, and the staff also can add the equipment. For the list, the staff can add equipment at here and press the button. Equipment name, quantity, and this is the status available or not available, and press the button add. If the staff don't want to add any equipment, just press the back button. The staff also can update the equipment if have any wrong while they fill the equipment information. Can change the equipment name, quantity, and status, available or not available, and press the button update. The staff also can delete the equipment if the equipment not available in this system. The staff just delete it, and the information of equipment auto deleted from the system. For the page approve, the staff must to approve the student borrow the sport equipment system. The staff can approve or not approve all the equipment that the student want to borrow. Just press the button, and the pop-up will appear at the screen. for the member button, this page explains about members' information, which is student who choose the website. The first one is AZIM bin MAZNIDA, MAZNIDA binti ZAINI, MOHAMAD ASYRAF bin ROZAINI, NURATIRAH binti KARIM, and NURUL ASYIQIN FATINI binti ZAIDY. Okay, for the contact button, the staff can contact us in this page. The staff just fill the full name, email, and state all the problem that you want to know in this page and send to the message. The example you fill out. The email. You must fill the correct email. And state that any problem you want to review. And the pop-up will appear at the screen, which is message that being sent, and click this button. Okay. Oh, fill out. Okay. No problem. Send message. The admin for the website know the problem you want to the admin know. Okay. I forgot to explain it. You can press the button and will appear. The button will be smaller. Press this can be clear. And okay, for the button off, if staff don't want to use the website, the staff just press the lock button, and the screen will appear again.
So hi, I'm Atira. I'm going to explain about student page. Okay, for a student who does not have an account, they need to register the account first. So I will show you how to register the account. Okay, you need to fill in the register form by entering your details. So for example, after you entering all the details, you have to click the register button. Okay, and then if you have successfully registered the account, you will get this notification. Okay, for those students who have successfully registered the account, they can log in by clicking here. They need to enter their student ID and password. And then click the login button. After the student have successfully logged in, this home page will be displayed. They can see the rules of borrowing equipment and the news of the spoil. Okay, as you can see, this is all the news. Okay, as you can see, there is site navigation bar. If you click at the menu button, the site navigation bar will be expanded. Okay, home is for the home page. This is the home page. If you click at the profile, you can see the user profile, which is your information. Okay, if you click on the equipment list, all the available equipment will be displayed. And if you want to search for the equipment, you can click the search button, and then you can select any available equipment and click the button search. For example, I search for hockey stick, and the hockey stick will be displayed. Okay, for borrow, there is borrow form and view form. So for the student who want to borrow any equipment, they need to fill in the form. For example, enter all your details, which is course, equipment name, date, if you have successfully entered all your details, you can click the submit button. After you click the submit button, this page will bring you to the view form, which is your successful submitted form. So if you want to update the form, you can click at the update button. And if you want to see the status, you can see at the view form, if the staff have approved your form, the approve will be displayed here. Okay, the last one is contact. For the student who want to contact us or have any problem with the system, they can contact us here. They can search for our email or our social media, and also they can just send us the message here. That's all. Thank you.
I'm ASYIQIN, and I will continue with the coding seasons. Okay, since this website has a user, which is student and staff, both of these we make a register and login form. For student, this is their register form, which is we have input for ID, name, age, gender, number phone, and password. It's same with the staff also. They have ID, name, age, gender, number phone, and password. But after register, after they click the register button, they will insight into the database. For student, it into a student table which have student ID, student pass, student name, student age, gender, and number phone as an attribute. And then the pop-up will come out after the button. There are 3 pop-up here to tell the user is it the register is successfully or not. It same goes to the staff. The data will insert into the staff table and insert into these attributes: staff ID, staff password, staff name, staff age, and staff gender, also the staff phones. And also have a 3 pop-up here to tell the user which if the register is successfully or not. After they register, they will go into a login form. Okay, for student, this is the coding to show that form of student login. We have only ID and password here, and also it's same also with the staff, which they also have login form that have staff ID and password. After they click the login button, the data that they fill in login form will be looking at the data in database. If they have that data in database, student and staff will into home page of their website, which means the student will go to student home and the staff will go to staff home. If not, they will get alert that to show the username or the password is wrong. Okay, So next we go to the stuff part. The stuff we have add, update and view for the equipment, because the stuff manage the equipment. So for the add, this is the form that the staff will fill in to insert the data of equipment. So after they click the button add, the data will insert into equipment table, and the message will come out to show either the record is successfully or not. After the staff add the equipment, they also can view the list of equipment that they added. So this section show the display of equipment informations, which have equipment codes, equipment names, quantity, status, and action. In action, we have update button and delete button. For the update, the staff will be go to update form, and for the delete, after the staff click the delete button, the action will be text, which means the data will delete from equipment tables, and all the data are gone. And after that, the message will be come out with a record deleted successfully or record not deleted. After that, we have update equipment to the staff to update the data of equipment. So it also has form here to update, but for the equipment code, the staff cannot update or change the equipment code because it's a very important and necessary. So the staff will only change the names, quantity, and status. After they click the update buttons, the data will be updated in equipment tables, and the message will be displayed to show at staff either the record is updated successfully or not. Okay, we go through student side. In student, we have borrow forms, update forms, view forms, and search. This student, they have to fill in borrow forms. So this is the coding of the borrow forms. We have student names, student numbers, course code, and equipment code. Equipment name, quantity, borrow date, return date, borrow time, return time. So for the equipment code and course code, both of these we use select, as they have to select that course codes we display, and also the equipment code that we will display. And after the student click the button submit form, the data will insert into borrow tables, and will have a message that to show the student either the form is successfully or unsuccessfully. After submit the form, the student also can go to review forms to view their forms. So this is the coding to show student form which have a student name unfilled with status. This status will show whether the form is approved or not. So the approval is made by the staff. Okay. In this view form also have a button update and also delete. If the student click update button, it goes to update page. If the student click the delete button, this will take an action to delete forms from borrow table, and the message will pop up to show that whether the record of borrow deleted successfully or not. After student click update button in view forms, the update form will come out, and this is the coding that show update forms. where is select all information and borrow to display in student, and the student can make change of the data from the student name until the return time, and all the data that have changed will be updated to borrow, and the message will come out to show for students whether the form is updated or not updated. In a student side, we also have equipment list to give information about equipment to students. So in this equipment list, we have search button. This button is function for searching equipment information based on equipment code. So we use select to display equipment code rather than make a student fill equipment code for searching. So it is easier for them to search equipment by selecting which code they want, and then after they click the search buttons, the equipment information will be displayed in the table. So that's only have equipment code and equipment name. So this is the code to show it retrieve data for equipment based on equipment code.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is AZIM bin NASIB. Today I am going to demonstrate to you on how we use our mobile app which is called Sport Equipment Inventory Management System, SIMS. So basically our mobile app is focused on students on how they want to borrow the sport equipment. So SIMS is a system where it helps in managing the inventory of the sport equipment. It often used as a platform for students to borrow any sport equipment. So now let's log in. So this is the login form for students to key in their detail. So if the first time user and they don't have the account, they need to register first. So this is the registration page for student. Student needs to enter the detail in this form, which is the student ID, name, age, gender, phone number, and password. Now let's key in the form. So once the student have filled up, key in the form, the student need to register. Then it will pop up message registered successfully. That means our information was stored in the database. So next, if the student have an account, just click the login button. So the student needs to key in their student ID and the password in order to log in. So once the student have done key in their details, the student need to hit the login button. So once the login successfully, it will direct us to the student homepage where the rule of borrowing equipment and navigation bar will be displayed in the page. So here, as we can see, there is a profile form, borrow form, and login and log out. So as you can see, this is our rule in order to student for borrowing equipment. So the first, Permohonan mestilah dilakukan dalam tempoh 3 hari sebelum hari peminjaman. Second, sila pastikan permohonan dibuat telah diluluskan. Tunjukkan bukti permohonan yang telah diluluskan di kaunter pejabat unit sukan. Next, tempoh peminjaman dan pemulangan peralatan tertakluk kepada kelulusan pinjaman seperti di dalam borang peminjaman. Peralatan yang lewat dihantar akan diberikan peringatan dan amaran. And lastly, peralatan yang hilang perlu diganti berdasarkan harga pesanan. So, this is our rules for student needs to obey in order to borrow the equipment. So, first, let's click the profile. So, this is the student profile page where student details will be displayed on this page as I registered before this. This is the name, AZIM, student ID, profile, phone, gender, and age. So, let's click the form button. Next, if the student want to borrow the equipment, just click the form here. So, this is a borrow form. Student needs to fill this form in order to make an application to borrow the equipment. So, the student have to key in the full name, student number, postcode, equipment name, quantity, borrow date, return date, and return time. So, let's fill it. So now I will key in the return date and borrow time. Borrow time is and the return time is 2 hours after we borrow the item. Once the student have done fill the borrow form, the student need to submit the form. So as you can see, they submit successfully, which means our borrow form was stored in the database. So next, I just need to click that and it will direct me to the home page. So if I want to see my form before this that I borrow, I just click the form button. Let's click the view form button. So this is the detail about my borrow. It will display the name, the student ID, postcode, equipment code, equipment name, the quantity, the date, and the time that I need to return. This page consists of all the information about the student borrow form. Next, if I want to update any information about my borrow information, I just click the update button here. So, if I want to change the quantity, I just need to fill the same information before this, and just change the quantity here. So let's fill out again. Student name is AZIM. Student number is same. The postcode, the account code is same. Account name, the quantity, as before this we enter 3. So now I want to update, so I want to borrow 5 for example. The return date is as usual. Borrow time is also same. And the return type is also same. So when I already done update, just click the update button here. So the data was updated, and the new database will store in the database. So after I already update the borrow information, now after that I can also delete the borrow information. If I want to cancel or delete, I just click the delete, and the student need to key in the student number to delete the borrow information. So the data has been deleted from the database. Next, I click home and click the view form, and as you can see, our borrow information is not in here since I have deleted the information before this. So next we have equipment list that we can search the equipment that we want. As for example, we can search the racket, the ping pong, the volleyball, and jumping rope. So this is for information that later when we want to borrow the equipment. So lastly, we have logout session. So if we hit the button logout, we will log out from our system. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Hello, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad NABIL bin Muhammad ZAINI, and I'm going to explain about the block coding and the PHP coding for our mobile applications. So first, let's look at the PHP coding. This is dbconnect.php. This coding is used to connect our mobile application with the database, which is localhost, and we have created a database named Sims in the localhost. Now let's go back to MIT App Inventor. As you can see here, this is our first screen, first page. We have login button here. So let's look at the block coding. So it just have a block coding to navigate this about page to the login page. Before we move to the login page, let's look at the register page first. So before the student or user want to log into the application, they must register first. So this is the page for register. Let's look at the block coding. So basically, when the button registered in the registered pages is clicked, it will connect with the register.php here, and then the user must key in all these informations, and then the notifier will dismiss the progress dialog. So if the response code is equal to 200, it means that this connection doesn't have any problem. Thus, it will get the response content. So let's look at the PHP register. So this is the PHP for register. So after the student finish key in their informations and click register, all the information that they key in will be passed into this attribute. So the system will check the data. It will select all the data from the student table in the database where the student ID is equals to ID. And if the data, if the student ID is already exists, then it will show the message data is already exists. And if it's not exists yet, the system will continue execute the process of registration by inserting the value of the information that been inserted into the database, and it will show the message registered successfully. Now that the user or student have successfully registered, they can now log in to the application. So let's look at login page. This is the login page. So this is the login page. The student must key in the student ID and the password that have been stored into the database earlier in the registrations to log in to the application. So let's look at the block. So if the button login is clicked, then it will connect it to the login.php. So the students or user must key in these informations. And as usual, if the response code is equal to 200, it means that there is no connection problems. So it will get the response content from the text box. And then if the response content is not equal to this message, then it will open another screen called student home. So this message we have in the PHP file, which is login.php. So let's look at login.php. So this is login.php. This is the information, the data that have been inserted, and then it will be passed to these attributes, and then the system will check from the student table in the database based on the student ID and the student passwords. So if the student ID and the student password is valid, then it will show this message login successfully and will open another screen. While if it's not true, then this message will be displayed and it will not go to the another page. After the user or student successfully log in to the applications, the system will take the student to the student home. So this is the student home. This is designed for student home. Let's look at the block coding. So it is the same as the about page. The coding for student home is only to navigate from one page to another page. Let's look at the first button student profile. If we click this button, it will open another screen called student profile. So let's look at student profile. So student profile will display all the informations about the students. Let's look at the block coding. So when the student profile screen is initialized, it will connect with the student profile.php. So it will fetch the data from the database. So if the response code is equal to 200, meaning that there is no problem in the connections, then it will set the input text to the response content here. So let's look at the PHP coding student profiles. So based on the student ID here, we run a command to select from the table student based on the student ID. So if the student ID is valid, if it exists, then it will display all of this. And if it's not exist, then it will show invalid query. Now let's go back to the student home. So the second button is button form. It will open another screen called form. So let's look at screen form. Screen form is used for student who wants to borrow equipment. They must key in all of this information and submit this form. So let's look at the block coding. So when button submit is clicked, it will connect this block coding to the borrow form.php. So then must key in all of these informations, and then the system will check whether the connection is okay or not. And if it is okay, then it will get the response content. So let's look at the PHP coding borrow form.php. So this is all of the information that must be keyed in by the student or user, and it will pass this value into these attributes, and then the system will check the data. It will select all from the borrow based on the student ID. So if this student ID is already exists in the database, then it will show the message that the data is already exists. And if it's not exist yet, the system will continue execute the insert command. So it will insert all the value that have been inserted by the student into this attribute inside the database, and it will show the message submit successfully. Let's look at the next button in the student home. Let's look at the equipment list first. So button equipment list will open another screen called equipment list. So equipment list, this is equipment list where it will list all of the equipment based on their name and also their code. I'm using the list view to display the list. So this is the block coding. It's just a simple block coding, and the user can also search the equipment by using code or the name of the equipment. So the next button in a student home is button view form. Button view form will open another screen called view form. So let's look at screen view form. So this is this is screen view form. It will display all the information related to the borrow. So there's also an update button and delete button. So let's look at the block coding. When the view form is initialized, it will connect to the viewform.php, and it will get the data from the database. So if the connection is okay, there is no problem, it will set the borrow input.text to the response content here. So let's look at the PHP viewform.php. So when the button view form screen was initialized, it will select all from the borrow based on their student ID. It will check whether the student ID is valid or not, and if it is valid, then it will display all of this informations, and if it's not valid, then it will show invalid query. So inside the view form screen, we also have button update form. So this button will open another screen called update form. So let's look at screen update form. So this is screen update form. If the student have insert wrong informations, they can just update their information here and then click the update button. So let's look at the block coding. This is the block coding for update. When the update button is clicked, it will connect the block coding with the updateform.php. The student must insert all of these informations, and then if the connection is okay, notifier will notice and get the response content. So it will set all of this text box into the content that have been get from the database. Let's look at the update.php. So this is updateform.php. This is the new information that have been inserted by the students. It will pass into these variables, and then it will check the data. It will select all from the borrow based on the student ID. So the student must make sure that they have insert a true student ID, because it will identify the data based on the student ID. If the student ID is correct, then the system will execute and continue the command update from the borrow table and set all of these value inside the database, and it will show the message data updated. And if the student ID is not valid, is not true, it will show the message data not found. So the next button in the view form screen is delete button. So delete button will open another screen called screen 1. So let's look at screen 1. So this is screen 1, delete screen. So basically, if the student want to delete the borrow information, the borrow form, they can just they must insert their student number here and click delete. So let's look at the block coding. So when button delete was clicked, it will connect to the delete form.php. This is the ID that the student must key in, and if there is no problem with the connections, the system will get the response content. So let's look at the PHP for delete. So based on the student ID, the system will check. It will select from table borrow based on the student ID, and if the student ID is valid, exists, then it will execute this delete command where the student ID, based on the student ID, and it will show the message data deleted. And if the student ID is not true, is not valid, then it will show message data not found. So that's all for our group presentation. Thank you, and we are sorry for any inconvenience.